night.
Everybody. I gotta go turn that thing off. Hold on now. That should take it. And it's not. Stand by. Can you believe this? Okay. One thing that got away from me this morning. I'm back. Hey, y'all. Happy Monday. It's Monday mindset time. And I am glad to be with you this morning. Hope you had a safe and good and restful or fun 4th of July holiday. Not sure what you were up to or into, but hope that it was good for you. Going to the chat room over here. And from Facebook, Michael says, good morning, Monday mindset, personal promises. That's what we're talking about. Absolutely. Pamela Gail says, good morning, Jeanette and everyone. Good morning, Pamela. Miss Helen says, good morning. Lisa Colt Jam says, good morning. Jeremiah, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Good morning, Empowerment Tribe. Happy Monday. I'll be your light if it gets too tight. You know how I feel about that theme song. IG people got to see me rocking out a little bit behind the scenes. Having a good time with that. Good morning, Leola. Good morning, Neil. Good morning, Lanisha. Enjoying your single. So we're in it to win it today, y'all. Let's talk about personal promises. I'm interested and I want everybody to play across all platforms. What is your definition of a promise? What is your definition? Hey, Ray. Hello, Natalie. Good to see you. What is your definition of a promise? There's no wrong answers. Just what it means to you. Don't try to figure out what the Webster's dictionary version is. Just what is, when you hear a promise, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to you? I'm waiting. Air conditioner sound like a cargo plane landing. I want to turn that off. What does a promise mean to you? I see him coming in on the chat. All right, from Facebook, so Lisa says a commitment. Great. Lanisha says keeping your word. Neil says a promise or a commitment to myself. Okay, Natalie says a commitment. I think that's what you're saying. Michael says you promise to somebody something and you don't keep your promise. Yeah, that happens sometimes too. But what does that word promise means to you? Pamela says a sincere effort. Cool. All right. What y'all saying over here on IG? What does a promise mean to you? Hey, Kimberly. Hey, all y'all. Hey, Mincy. On IG, sincerely, Sylvia says a commitment and of you following through on your word. That's great, Sylvia. Love it. Mr. Mincy says a statement that you're 100% sure you can fulfill. All right, awesome. You guys are in it today. Miss Helen says for her, it means mine was a commitment I made to God over 20 years ago. Okay. I didn't ask you about one particular promise. I just asked you about a promise. What does the word promise mean? It means your word. Miss Leola's going to whole school. Your word, your bond, right? That's what we're doing. All right. So let's look at what Sir Google says. Promises. All right. And here is that definition. A promise is a commitment by someone to do or not do something. As a noun, promise means a declaration assuring that one will or will not do something. As a verb, it means to commit oneself by a promise to do or give. It can also mean a capacity for good, similar to a value that is to be realized in the near future. Okay, let's break that down. A promise is a commitment by someone or something to someone to do or not do something, right? You're either going to do or not do something. Okay, as a noun, it can mean a declaration assuring that somebody will or will not do something, right? So everything that you all have said is so far wrapped up in there: a commitment and a declaration, right? As a verb, it means to commit yourself by promise, to do or to give. What's up, Doc? Right? And it can also mean the capacity for good, similar to the value that is to be realized in the near future. So it hasn't happened yet, but I promise I'm going to work on that, right? So today I want to talk to you all about the promises that we make ourselves and kind of just dig around in that a little bit. How many of you have ever made a promise to someone and you kept it? Just say, that's me. If you've ever made a promise to someone and you kept it, say, that's me. Looking in the comments. Come on, IG. Y'all keep playing. Thanks for waving back at me, by the way. If you've ever made a promise to someone and you kept that promise, say, that's me. Michael says, that's me. Sylvia says, that's me. Pamela says, that's me. Lanisha says, that's me. Okay. There's a method to my madness. Come on and flow with the coach today. That's me, Salisa. By the way, Sylvia, I still think about a prophetic word you gave me. Natalie, that's me. About a sister circle. Helen says, that's me. Leola says, that's me. Okay. All right. I think most of us can say that there's been a time when we have made a promise to someone and we kept that promise. Now, if this applies to you, say me too. How many of you, thank you for the kisses. How many of you have made a promise to yourself? Monique says that's me. How many of you have made a promise to yourself and you kept that promise? How many of you made a promise to yourself and kept that promise? Say, me too. I've done it. How about you? Me too. It could be a small promise, a large promise, but you made a promise to yourself and you kept it. Okay? Me too. Lanisha? Say, me too. Yep, Lanisha says, me too. Monique says, me too. Pamela says, me too. While you are weighing in, let me ask you this. How often will you better keep a promise? Natalie says, me too. Miss Helen says, me too. Sylvia says, me too. How often will you all more likely make and keep a promise to someone else than you will to yourself? Before you answer, think about it. Neil says, me too. How often are you more likely to break a promise you've made to yourself before you break a promise you make to someone else? Are you 50% likely to break a promise to yourself before you break it for somebody else? Are you 75% more likely to break a promise to yourself before you break a promise that you made someone else? Are you 90% more likely to break a promise to yourself before you will for somebody else? Lanisha, honestly answering all too often. Lisa says she's 80% more likely to break a promise to herself than she would to somebody else. Natalie says 90%. I love how the tribe is so honest. 90% more likely to break a promise to myself before I do it to somebody else. Leola says, I made some but did not keep them. Yep, we all have, Miss Leola. Neil said he's about 80% more likely to break a promise to himself before he'll break a promise he made to somebody else. Miss Helen said she's only 20% likely to break a promise to herself. It's good. Sylvia says on IG she's about 75% likely to break a promise to herself before she will somebody else. And there's no judgment. Absolutely none. Because what I want you all to realize is that we all do it. We do. And in many ways, Michael says, me too. In many ways, it's a form of nurture and a form of care because we care about people, and that love for them, that concern we have for them will have us motivated in ways that we aren't motivated for ourselves to keep that promise, right? Pamela says she is 75% before I break a promise to myself, before I break a promise to somebody else. Yeah. Michael says he's about 80. And I want you to see, well over 50% of the time. Did you all notice that in the numbers? Well over 50% of the time are we willing to break a promise to ourselves before we will do it to somebody else. Now, on the one hand, yay for your friends and family, because you're going to come through for them, right? When you tell them something, your word is your bond. Now, let me ask you a question. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that you will more likely keep a promise to somebody else before you will keep the promise to yourself? Think about it, think about it, think about it, think about it. I'm not going to distract you. Think about it. Think about it. I want to read real answers. Why are you more likely to break a promise to yourself than you will somebody else? What's the motivation? Dig in there. What do you think? Hey, Jay Birch. What do you think? Back. I want answers. I only see one comment in this. Come on, I give y'all time to think. Oh, and she's tagging people. Why do you think that is? Come on, we have an exercise to do. Let's move this along, y'all. Let's move this along. We got an exercise to do today. All right? While y'all are thinking about it, I'm going to put these definitions back up. It's assurance that someone will do or give or arrange something or undertake or declare that something will happen, or that there's good grounds for expecting something to happen. All right, let's see what we're saying over in the chat. Natalie says, unrealistic boundaries. Good. Lanisha says, I think it's fear of looking bad, man-pleasing. Y'all better come on with the honesty today. Neil says, because I hold my word to others is more important than to myself. Ooh, y'all are knocking right at the door of truth bombs today. On IG, Mr. Mincy says, because people will talk about you and ruin your reputation. Oh my goodness, you're right about it. Monique says, I definitely put more energy in keeping promises for someone else than myself, struggling with coming up with a number. It's okay. Lisa says, because I'm a giver and I've always done for others before myself. Helen says, because for me, my word is my bond. Monique says, I think we do it because we put our worth in how people see us over how we see ourselves. Boom, 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 boom. Bing, 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 bing. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so when that happens, now we got to go back and we got to look at some stuff, because today we're going to look at breaking that. Sylvia says on IG, keeping my word has been something that I've held a high standard for, so much so that I forget about myself. All in all, it makes me feel great to do for others. Yes. Yes. That's how it is. When you're a nurturer, when you're a light bearer, when you are a coach, or when I say light bearer, I include everybody in there that's just a nurturer, a giver, and a doer. We feel better doing for others. Now, some of those reasons we feel better are great reasons. There's actually dopamine that's released in our body when we see, when we get a joy of seeing others being fulfilled. That can be addictive. So from a physiological standpoint, I can feel really good. I know my family, we're big gift givers. And, when my dad was alive, I mean, we still are, but some of my best memories, or my dad was alive when it was Christmas or birthdays or whatever, my father would hold himself up in the bedroom to wrap these god awful packaged gifts, but he put so much love in that thing. And we were more excited to watch people opening our gifts than we were to open the gifts that we got. Anybody else like that? Because you want to see the people you love happy and know that you had a role in doing that. Right? Right? Pamela says, I believe that people are depending on me. I'm a giver. Yep. And even in that, we like people depending on us. How many of you are poor receivers? Yep, I see you, Monique. How many of you are poor receivers? That means you are great at giving, but when somebody wants to bless you, it's a little difficult. You get a little, Neil says, yes. I'm recovering in that area. Yep, I see all the hands going up on Facebook over here. How about you on IG? Is it easier for you to receive? Hey, Nickel26 says, yes, true. If you want to tell me what your name is, so I won't call you Nickel26, just type that in for me, Periscope. Yes, says Ms. Pamela. Neil says, me. Sylvia's waving her hand on IG. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now let's go to maybe a darker side on that. Lisa says, yes, but no more. I hear you, girl. We have to make sure that we're not operating in a space, and just breathe with me through it. Nicole, thank you, Nicole. Just breathe through this with me. No matter what our faith tradition is, because I know we have people that believe all manner of things when it comes to our faith. What's up, JWMCDO? Thanks for the hearts on Instagram too. I love that. We have to believe that what goes up comes down. What goes around comes around. What you sow is what you'll reap, right? No matter what you believe. And so you are worthy of being a receiver. You are deserving of being a receiver. In fact, just type that in as one of your affirmations for today. I am worthy and deserving of receiving. I am worthy and deserving of receiving. Leola says, when I was a little girl, people promised me things, but they didn't keep those promises. And I grew up saying, I will not do that to people. I get it. That's a great motivation. That's a great motivation. You saw something happen and you wanted to make a correction, and you did that. Lanisha says, I'm worthy and deserving of receiving. I want you to type that in. Type that in. When you type that in, you are connecting with that statement, even if it's by faith. It becomes a part of what you're going to marinate in for today. Mr. Mincy says, I'm worthy and deserving of receiving. Sylvia says, I am worthy and deserving of receiving with a heart. Love it. You are attaching yourself to that thought container for today and putting it out there in the world, putting it out there in the universe. You are worthy and deserving of receiving. And when we understand that, then we're going to start operating in that vein. Lisa adds her affirmation to that statement of faith. We are going to start moving in that direction, which means you will stop having problems receiving not only from others, but receiving good from yourself. Pamela adds herself to that list. Michael adds himself to that list. Just keep typing it in for those of you who haven't. When you understand that, Helen says, I am worthy. When you understand that it's not about people pleasing, when you understand it's about the world operating in the yin and yang, the yin and yang, right? Nicole says she's worthy and deserving of receiving. You have to believe that. I don't care what happened to you in your past. I don't care what happened to you in your youth. I don't care what has happened to you or what people have said to you. You are worthy and deserving of receiving good. Yes. Wendy adds to it all manners of greatness. Absolutely. You are worthy and deserving of receiving good. Okay? You are. This is something that I want you all to marinate on for the rest of the week. Now we have an exercise that I'm going to help you keep your promise to yourself. Okay? I'm going to help you with how to keep a promise to yourself. And this is a little more adult content, just in a humorous way. So if you have, teenagers or babies, you might want to send them into the other room to work on something. Wendy said, yes, I am. All right. And if you want to invite people in to take part in this exercise, now is the time for you to share. Share it out. Come Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, IG. Mr. Mincy says, I don't like to receive when the person that I have beats a dead horse and constantly reminds you that I gave and not saying anything else about it. Yes. So that's one of he's mentioning a point of like, I hate when people give to me and then they just beat the dead horse. I'll never hear the end of it. You gave to me. Okay, blah, blah, blah. There is a truth in that. There's a vulnerability in receiving. All right. And so we're not talking about receiving from everybody. We're not talking about receiving because, there's strings attached or whatever. But I'm going to talk to you even about dealing with that. Right. Today, I want to focus greatly on the promises that we make and keep to ourselves. I see you, Leola, right? Because it really is time for us to esteem ourselves as highly as others, right? There's a great word from a great book called The Good Book that says, love your neighbor as yourself. That means I'm not going to love you more than I love me. Because actually, if I love you more than I love me, I am pouring from an empty pitcher. I'm pouring from an empty pitcher. If I can't love me as much as I love you, I'm pouring from an empty pitcher. Right? So let's do this promise keepers exercise. And for those of you who are on IG, and if you want to actually see what I'm sharing with them, you're going to have to pop on over there. But it is a sheet. It's a little grid. Column 1 says, this is my promise. Then you have the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then you have a column that says excuse. Then you have a column that says consequence. And then you have a column that says whether you kept it or not. And on this particular sheet, this is Donna. She is a wife. And so when you see her answers, they're in relation to her marriage. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. So one of the promises Donna had to herself and to her husband was that she was going to initiate sex one time a week. Oh, that's great. Right as my pastor jumps on. Hey. So Donna says, within my marriage, I'm going to initiate sex one time a week. That's her promise to herself. And then the consequence, if she doesn't do that, is that she's going to give away one of her handbags to Goodwill. I thought that would make you laugh. P. Claymore, right? A second promise she's going to keep to herself is no spending money on anything that they don't need. Clear and extraneous purchases with her husband, John. So she had a problem with a little shopping addiction. So she's not going to spend money on things that they don't need without clearing it first from her husband. And her consequence would be that she would have to return that purchase. And then the last promise was no quiet resenting or grumbling. She's going to clear all the grumbles up within 5 minutes, right? So you know how we're trying to change a behavior, we'll grumble about it, right? If you understand the grumble process, throw up an emoji or say, yeah, that's me. When we're shifting a behavior, you know, you'll be like, I know I shouldn't do this. I know I need to do something different. But you're going to make everybody feel it the whole time you make the shift, right? That's your lower level thinking and your lower level personage inside of you fighting back against you moving toward good. Neil says, I tend to pour from an empty pitcher quite a bit. Well, we're about to work on that through group coaching. So, so here's how it works. You make a promise to yourself. You track it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Did you keep your promise to yourself? And then in the excuse category, the column right there, you put what happened when you were faced with honoring that promise to yourself. All right? What is that promise that you're going to make to yourself? So with Donna, she said, I'm going to initiate sex 1 time a week with my husband. No excuses. And if I don't do it, I'm going to give away a handbag to Goodwill. Because she knew that creating intimacy and developing that dynamic between she and her husband was important. No excuses. Hey, Shay Castillo. Hey, Savannahs. Thanks for popping in. Good to see you. So her second promise of not spending money on anything they don't need without clearing it from her husband. You see the column. She said, I kept the promise, kept the promise, kept the promise, kept the promise, got all the way to Saturday and did not keep the promise. NK was not kept, did not keep the promise. Her excuse was, shoes I've been coveting forever went on sale and I just couldn't resist it. Women, how many of you? I was good till they went on sale. What's up, Charles? I was good till they went on sale. So what did she have to do? The consequence was she had to return them. Right? The promise, I see you, hearts on IG. The last promise she made to herself was, I'm not going to be quietly resenting the judgment that comes when I don't keep my promise, right? And I'm going to grumble for about 5 minutes and then I'm going to let it go. So what happened? She said her husband came home. She didn't keep the promise about the grumbling, right? She kept the promise on Monday. She didn't keep it Tuesday. She kept it the rest of the week. So on Tuesday, when she didn't keep that promise, she said the excuse was because her husband came home from work and was cranky. He saw some shopping bags and assumed it was something that wasn't a legit purchase and kind of went off. He might have been right, but he didn't have to be a jerk about it. So I want you to see how that impacted her rest of the week. That happened on Tuesday. He thought that she made an unauthorized purchase, which she had not yet. Because if you look in the keep category, she had kept her promise on Tuesday. But that set her off so that by Saturday, when those shoes went on sale, she's like, you think I did anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and break the promise. Right? Now, what's funny, and what you all can't see on IG, on this grid of her sheet, is that the consequence for her not keeping that promise was a little more adult than I wanted to put on Facebook, but she had to perform an intimate act that was her husband's preference as her consequence. Let your mind be blown on what that could be. But what I want you to look at is that on every step of the way, there's accountability. And that's the difference when we were talking about why you'll hold yourself your promises to yourself in lower level importance than the promises you hold to others. It's because there's accountability. And you all said it. I don't want people to talk bad about me. I don't want them to ruin my my reputation. I don't want to hear about it. I will feel bad. And why you will feel bad is because of the level of accountability that's in place. So this exercise is made to help you build accountability for yourself. If you understand this concept, give me a yes, yes. This is how we hold accountability for ourselves without having to put it on the line with somebody else. Thank you for the share, P. Claiborne. I appreciate that. I see you, I see you, I see you. Right? We have to begin honoring the promises that we make to ourselves. We have to esteem those over anything, because when you aren't honoring yourself, the way you are honoring others is tainted. Do you understand? You're not motivated rightly. What's up, Eric? You're not motivated rightly. Ooh, didn't mean to do that. Boop. You're not motivated rightly. If you can't honor a promise you keep to yourself, the reason you'll honor somebody else with a promise that you made and won't break it to them is tainted. Okay. Yes, yes, says Neil. He gets it. Yes, yes. Monique also on Facebook says she gets it. If you get it, IG, let me hit me with a yes, yes. Blessing Schumann says, clap, clap, clap. She gets it. Lisa says, yes, yes, she gets it. Miss Helen says, yes, yes. Periscope weighing in. Yes, yes. Nicole says she gets it. We don't want to keep promises out of fear. Sylvia on IG says, yes, yes, she gets it. We're not trying to keep promises based on esteeming others over ourselves. Eric says he gets it on IG. Yeah, we're not esteeming other people because we're afraid of what they're going to say, or they're going to run our name down and all that. No. We're going to do it all from a place of respect. I respect myself, therefore I'm able to better respect you. I love myself, therefore I'm able to better give to you. Right? That's where we're going to operate from. And I understand that some of this has to do with our own self-worth, our self-value, how we see ourselves. But that's why our affirmation for this week is I am worthy and I'm deserving of receiving good. If you've ever done anything good for anybody, you are worthy and deserving of having that good come back. Explain how tainted. Sure will. Blessing says, I've kept promises out of fear for a long time in my life. Thank God for freedom. Absolutely, Blessing. I love that. Thank you for that share. Michael says, yes, yes. So Neil says, explain the tainted. I said, if you are better at keeping promises for other people than you are for yourself, and the reasons that we've given for why you're better at keeping promises for other people than yourself is because you esteem them higher than you esteem yourself. What's up, David? Welcome in. You either esteem them higher than you esteem yourself. You're afraid they're going to run your name down, right? You feel better when you give to yourself. When you give to others than you do to yourself. All of that stuff, the reasons are rooted in low-level thinking. If I'm afraid that you're going to talk about me, and I'm afraid that if I don't do this, there's a consequence, then that's rooted in fear. That's not rooted in an intention that's pure of fear, right? It's not faith. It's not anchored in good. It's just anchored in fear. I don't want you to talk about me. I don't want to feel bad about myself. Bad consequences, right? Wrong motivation. If you're giving to others because you esteem them over yourself, because there's low self-value, low self-worth, low self-esteem, that's tainted, right? Because what you're saying is they're more valuable than I am. And that's not loving your neighbor as you love yourself. When I love you out of my overflow, that means you pour into my bottle from the source. I get love, respect, all of that poured into me. And then I overflow and I can give that to everybody. But when I pour out of my little finite human container without receiving good and believing good about myself, then what happens when you get to the end of this? You have nothing left to give. Then you start faking it till you make it. Right? So, tainted is anything, that's rooted in low level thinking. Got it. Yep, that's it. That's what we're eliminating. So David on IG says, my mantra is I am present, I'm clear, I'm focused, I'm determined, and prepared to be. I love that. David, I know you just jumped in. We're talking about also promise keeping, how we won't keep promises for ourselves as well as we'll keep promises for other people. And what I'm trying to help us understand through this coaching exercise that we did, and if you all missed it, please go back and look at it. IG, if you will pop over to my Facebook page, which you can get the link in my bio, I would love for you to see the graph, because I think that this is a tool that could help us this week. I think this is a tool that if you utilize this, you can find the reasons why you're willing to give up a promise on yourself, and then inject the tool that will help you keep promises to yourself. A consequence. So like Donna was working on her marriage. She said, I need to be the one who initiates sex in my marriage at least one time a week. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna give away one of my good handbags, hey Quincy, to Goodwill. That was gonna hit her in a place that she really would feel, right? Women, we don't want to give away our handbags, right? What's up, brother? What's up, Mainstream? So you have to figure out when you're doing this exercise, when you're keeping the promise. What did I just walk into? I know. You have to look at it on Facebook. It's an exercise about how to keep promises to yourself. What's the thing that's going to motivate you? And I hear you. Wait, Nicole first says, yes, rooted in fear, not love, not from abundance. That's it. Thank you, Nicole. Why is this even important? Let me tell you why it's important. It's important because if you can't keep promises to yourself, we're not going to move forward with building your dream. We're not going to be able to move forward with your purpose. We're not going to be able to move forward with a lot of things that you promised yourself we were going to work on from the beginning of 2020 and probably further back. How do you make that relationship better if you can't keep a promise to yourself? How do you build that business that you've been working on for so long if you don't keep promises to yourself? How are you going to level up in your business? How are you going to level up in your service? How are you going to level up in your, working toward financial freedom? How are you going to level up if you can't keep promises to yourself? Right? I'm not sure what you're laughing at, Neil, but I'm sure it was a good one. Somebody said what they're walking into. That's what it's about today. How do we move from honoring ourselves and the promises we make to ourselves as highly as those that we make for others? Now, what I hope that I've given you today is first some insight, but I'm also going to give you some tips. Main Street says we need to get her done, discipline, short-term and long-term goals. But there also needs to be accountability, right? Because you can set those goals, and you're absolutely right on IG. But what happens when you don't meet them? There's got to be some accountability and some consequences. That's what moves us forward. And I'm not talking about shaming yourself and beating yourself up. Not talking about that at all. I'm talking about what is the positive thing that can move us into a space where we do get her done. All right, so here's some tips. And then I want to give you some other resources. When it comes to keeping personal promises, be realistic. Be realistic about the promises that you're making to yourself. Right? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, I think that one is. But number two, stretch yourself. If you're only ever making promises to yourself that are easy to keep, hey, Jerry, that's not going to help you level up. That's not going to help you stretch beyond your comfort zone. That's not going to push you in a place of growth. And you know, we're all about growth and benefit mindset here. We don't do that fixed mindset thing, right? Neil says accountability is key. Someone to help push you into better. Absolutely. Because just like a trainer in the gym, you don't think you can lift that weight. And maybe on your own you can't. So you have somebody spot you. And what you do is they allow you to get a feel for the weight. They allow you to feel the consequence of it, but they're not going to make you bear it alone. And should you tremble, they're there, right? Until you get to a place where one day you feel it and you know, no, I got this. Boom, and you take it yourself, right? That's what therapists and coaches and other people are there for, is to help you lift the weight, right? And I have to be honest with you, a lot of that stuff that we were talking about, the low-level thinking of I'm not worthy or deserving of receiving good, is many times anchored to traumas and anchored to other things that we need to heal fully, all right? Also, when it comes to keeping personal promises, use powerful language. Use powerful language. What is it that you're trying to achieve? I promise myself. Okay, I'll give you a real example. So those of you who follow me, the Empowerment Tribe, know that when we went into the pandemic, those pandemic pounds started piling on me. There's a lot of stress. Work for a faith-based institution. Thank you for the love on the IG. And I just was in front of a computer for like 18 to 20 hours sometimes, for days at a time. The stress of a pandemic, the stress of being away from my family, the stress of, being holed up by myself, all of those things, and I piled it on. But I made a personal promise to myself, and I used strong and powerful language about how I was going to feel when I lost the weight, how I was going to feel, what I was going to do, very specific, how I was going to walk in certain outfits, how I was going to feel in certain, how my body was going to thank me for how healthy it was feeling and how more freely it would move. I used powerful language, right? Monique says, yes, yes to powerful language. Absolutely. Because it impresses upon your mind a level of importance. And then the next thing is, when it comes to keeping personal promises, manage your external world, which is what I did in terms of the whole weight loss thing. I didn't bring in any foolishness into the house, which was a little easier to do when you're a single person living by yourself. You don't have to answer to anybody else's dietary desire. And I just didn't bring it in the house. Right? I cut out everything I just don't need to eat. David on IG says, I met a friend through a friend. Turns out she's a life coach. Our friendship is starting off truthfully and awesomely. Cool. Made a friend through a friend. She's a life coach. Our friendship is turning off truthfully and awesomely. Love that. That's some powerful language right there. So manage your external world when it comes to keeping promises to yourself, right? Okay. The last one is pass the test. Because I promise you, this is like a weightlifting thing. When you can't keep promises to yourself, you'll end up breaking more of them because you get used to it. You create a new habit of not coming through for you and honoring the promises you make to others over the promises that you make to yourself. It becomes a behavior, right? Because what you experience, you form an opinion about it. So if you break promises to yourself, and your thinking becomes, well, I didn't let anybody down but myself, and I'll make it up later. And then the feeling behind that is you feel good because it didn't push you out of your comfort zone. You feel resolved with that. You get a short term, you know, sense of support and self-soothing. So that feeling lines up with your thinking. So now you start making decisions out of that feeling that make you take certain actions. And those actions you do over and over again become patterns and form your character or your behavior. And so you, in that instance, start building a pattern and a behavior of letting yourself down and not honoring your own promises that you make to yourself. Just like your words to other people matter, your words to yourself matter. And if no one can count on you, you should be able to count on you. You are part of the source of what fuels you for greatness or for failure. Fuel yourself for greatness. Come on, unicorn. Fuel yourself for greatness. You are worthy and deserving of receiving good. That was our affirmation statement for today. That is the affirmation statement you take with you all week long. Yes, discipline, but let that discipline be rooted in abundance and right thinking, not in fear. Not in fear of what happens. Yep. I love the yep. I'm all about the yes, and the yep. Monique, absolutely, on Facebook. David on IG says yep. That's where we're going this week, y'all. We're going to pass the test. We're going to pass the test. Pass the test. So I need you. Anne Marie says on Facebook, hey, Dr. Mingo, what's up? This is good. I'm glad I popped in for a brief moment on the back half. Your words to yourself matter, and you should be able to count on you. Oh, thank you for that quotable. Absolutely. So that's the work this week, y'all. Promise keepers. We are promise keepers. Not only do we keep the promises that we give to others, we keep the promises we make to ourselves. And now we understand it's equally as important, as valuable as anything we'll ever say to somebody else. So I want you to think about that one area where you're going to make a promise to yourself. And remember the exercise. If this helps you, take a screenshot, make your own promise keeping chart, right? Take a screenshot. IG, if you're on IG, I will show it to you. It's going to be backwards for whatever reason, the camera. Oh no, maybe I'll do it this way. Come here, IG. Let me see if I can do it this way. There you go. You can take a screenshot now. That's the sheet. You make a promise to yourself. You track it Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Track any excuses that you make for not keeping it. What's the consequence that you're willing to pay if you don't keep the promise? And then mark whether you kept it or not. Okay? There you go, IG. Sorry, that was kind of janky and now I had to do it, but at least you got to see it. All right, that's where we are. Now, let's talk about this. What if you need help? Because I understand that some of us do need help, right? And that's why I have offered group coaching for those of you who need a place to plug in and you do well in peer coaching. And some of the things that you want to talk about are so personal so that you can handle it in group coaching. But let me tell you, I'm very serious about my group coaching. We all sign confidentiality agreements that are legally binding. Because of the work that we do, it's important that there is a safe space and a level of trust that everybody can depend on. David says, my friend pulled the mantra out of me by asking to define my state of being. Ooh. I like that. I like that, David. Hey, Randy. Right? So we dig into this stuff in group coaching. That's where we dig more into it. All right. So if you are interested, I did pandemic pricing. I shut it down, but for the empowerment tribe, because most of you on here follow me all the time, right? I'm buttoning it up right after this. If I don't get a message from you right after this broadcast, it has already gone back up to its regular pricing. I broke it down because I know people are going through a hard time. It breaks down to $13 an hour. You can't get 3 hours of coaching a month for $13 an hour anywhere. So we meet bi-weekly, right? You sign up for the subscription, go to my website, Jeanettesmith.com. But if you want individual coaching and you need that, that's also available to you there as well, okay? It's just time that we all plug in and get the help that we need so we can move this train forward. 2020 isn't over yet. 2020 is not over yet. You still have plenty of time to make some stuff happen, right? You have plenty of time to make some stuff happen, right? So how are we going to do that? You're going to get the help you need. Hey, Randy, whether you need a coach, whatever it is, you're going to make it happen. Yes, yes? Yes, yes? Yes, yes. All right, I look forward to coming back on Friday. That's when we come back live and do live coaching, and we'll talk about the promises that you made and kept to yourself. And if you fell short, just like on Donna's little form, we'll talk through those two and see how you did and how we can help set you up to win and do a little better next time. Yay! So excited for all of you who have joined. So excited for the new people that came on. I hope you'll stay connected to me. You can stay connected to my tribe by texting the word release to 22999. If you text the word release to the number 22999, you'll find out about my pop-ups, different things that I do, some downloadables and things that I offer to the tribe that I don't, put out for public consumption, all of those things. Yep, Leola. Thank you, Nicole. Glad I caught you live. Glad you caught me live too. Thank you for popping in. Love y'all on Periscope. Love y'all on YouTube. Y'all are just great all the way across the board. What's up, Candy Corn? Shout out to Candy Corn, who's in the e-course. She is doing her doggone thing. Gonna get her best life together. Great nuggets. Thank you, Leola. Glad that you enjoyed that. All right, y'all. That's it for now. And I will see you on Wednesday for our devotional, right? Because that's what we do on Wednesdays. So, bye-bye from Inner Harbor area of Baltimore, Maryland. Time to sign off. And y'all know this. I love y'all to life. And there's what? Absolutely nothing you can do about it. That's what? Absolutely nothing. Not one thing. Take good care. Bye-bye. I'll be your light. Take good care.